Yo, what's going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're having an amazing day today. So we've been asked about gameplay reviews for a little while now, and although it's a little bit different to what I usually upload, it sounded like quite a fun and kind of informative thing to do. So if you enjoyed the video and you think I did pretty well, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Just to preface, I have watched the very beginning of this game. I had to watch the first couple seconds just to make sure I wasn't actually watching hack gameplay secretly. And so it turns out that this is going to be a console blight game that we're reviewing today. It's also on Thompson House, which is not the hardest of all the 𝗗𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵 maps, but it's also not the easiest. I'm kind of curious to see how this one goes. So yeah, it looks like definitely a console player, with the add-ons being the green Compound 21, which is an aura reading add-on. Basically, every time you slam near a survivor, it will kind of show you their aura for a few seconds, and also on top of that, you can actually find survivors that are above or below you, even if you can't see them, by checking the top right corner of the screen and seeing if you get awarded points for it. On top of that, it looks like we may have, check this out, we can draw on the screen. It does look like we have some green speed as well, which is a nice benefit. It's a really strong add-on for the blight. Perk-wise, we have Thrilling Tremors from Ghostface, which is going to be a pretty good information perk, as well as some, not exactly gen slowdown, but it's a little bit of kind of gen prevention, if that makes sense. We also have Pop Goes the Weasel over here on the right, which is a really strong, arguably one of the strongest gen regression perks in the game. We have Barbecue and Chili level 2, which is totally cool. That's going to give us some aura tracking throughout the game. And as well as that, we have I'm All Ears, which is really good at kind of reading survivors through walls during a chase. So spawning near main building. Not a bad first rush, although getting stuck a couple times, getting a little bit of information from Compound 21 there. It's not a bad start, and we did find a survivor pretty quickly, so although, yeah, she does have the sprint burst, that's a little bit unfortunate. Still getting a nice little hit around the corner, though. I think that could have been ended a little bit quicker, but at the same time, we kind of got stuck there, and I understand on console especially. Although, hold on. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all. With a little bit of patience there, slamming a couple times, using Compound 21 to see where that survivor was going, and then just slamming straight into the survivor. 90-degree flick there. That was really well played. So something to note here that I kind of just took note of is the this gen here, right? That one being red. I'm assuming that she was aware of this, because obviously she kind of turns around, looks like she's about to be running in this direction. But that gen being red is Thrilling Tremors, telling you that that one had progress. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's 1 to 2 survivors currently working on that gen, and it's probably going to proc pretty soon. And there it goes. Perfect timing. Trying to find some information here, seeing a survivor around the corner. See, in that position, and also we do get the crying from the survivor that is currently hooked. In this position here, I think what you should have done, slam there, couldn't find a survivor. You could have used a little bit more time in slam duration to see the survivor running in this direction, and then using that information, what I would have done is I would have then looked to my immediate left and slammed off of either this object here, or maybe a little bit further back towards the barn. But again, it's a little bit risky. But I think slamming into the hook was a bit of a complicated play, because with only 2 rushes remaining now, it's going to be kind of complicated to be able to get all the way over here and then curve around the corner to get her. It's totally possible, but it's going to be very difficult. Sadly, yeah, spinning off into the distance happens all the time. It's tough, especially on maps like Coldwind as well, because a lot of these maps have, seemingly really slippery collision that you think that you should be able to bump into, but you are going to be sliding a lot on maps like this. I'm looking around. Looks like Meg's been unhooked. Unfortunate, I mean, as is the case with Rotten Fields and Thompson House, it can be really difficult to find things in the middle of the maps to bounce off of, so it totally makes a lot of sense. Using pop there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, using a bit of pop there. It didn't have much progress, but at the same time, there wasn't much time left on that pop, so it was worth maybe using it just in case. Getting a bit of information. That was so close. Hold on, we gotta watch that one again. That was close to a clean 180 flick around the corner there. I think a little bit more distance. If maybe you decide to flick a little bit later, that might have actually landed just perfectly on her. Not badly played. I think, again, going for the podcast hits, though, I must admit, I'm kind of impressed with the raw enthusiasm in this game so far. I think what happened here, going for that first rush was not a bad idea, because, again, keep in mind that Blight only has 5 lethal rush or 4 lethal rushes The first one is kind of incapable of doing damage, right? So typically what you do with blight is you slam into something very, very close, and then you quickly go for another one. That's the one you can actually injure someone with, right? I think in this situation here, you didn't really look to your left enough to see that you can't really make that distance. You know, considering the fact that you do have a speed add-on, that does help a little bit, but it's only it's only your first lethal rush, so you're not really going to be making that much progress, you know? Not a bad attempt, though, and honestly, if she had slightly worse ping, if she was ordering a burger right now at McDonald's, that would have connected 100%. It wasn't a bad idea. Now, there's a couple kind of interesting mind games you can do here, and again, kind of taking advantage of that Compound 21 right there. Again, kind of, it's tricky. It's a really tricky map to try and get that collision to work, and especially since there's nothing in the corn, it can be tough to try and, although, hold on, mind game working there, getting a good M1 hit, perfect. Now, as far as map pressure goes, it looks like the original Meg has also healed up, and the other three are probably working on gens right now and pressuring quite heavily. So, ideally, we want to try and end this, end this chase as quickly as possible. Running around this. At this point, I think I wouldn't risk it. I'd probably just try and eat the pallet. Although we're going for another risky play. It's going to work out. So close for another one as well. So close to another 180. Now, if we want to go back, if I want to nitpick a little bit with techniques that you could have used here, like I said, what I would have done is I would have maybe, if I failed, and especially in a situation like this where the first survivor's healed up, the other two, I don't know where they are. They could all be working on separate gens right now if they are on comms, if they're a Swift. Right now, we want to end this chase as quickly as physically possible, right? So here, I think what I would have done is just walked around normally and just tried to, force the pallet down. Even if I, even if I have to take it on my head, that's totally cool. But something you could have done here, in hindsight, which is slightly more kind of, complex, slightly more advanced technique, but you could have done a hug tech here by then kind of using your slam duration to push yourself forwards towards this block. What you could have done is push yourself just about forwards enough, look down, and then hug tech either to around, either the left or right, because it looked like she was going to be greeting it again, right? So in this situation, you get here, you can clearly see with Compound 21 that she's running towards the right as well. So as soon as you get to this position, look down a little bit, and then curve around to the right with the hug tech, and then a 90-degree flick on top of that. Boom, that'd be the chase ended. I can almost guarantee that would have worked perfectly in that situation. You try and go for a pretty gnarly flick, though, and again, getting very, very close to that one. Not bad at all. Chase still continuing. Although she absolutely screws up with the dead hard right there, man. If I could get the dead hard overlay going, man, I totally would. She dead hards into you, doesn't get the pallet down. That looks like it's the end of the chase. Now, this gen next to us has significantly more progress than it did before. And the fact that it's still red means that someone is actively working on it, right? Now, when we first started chasing here, I want to say it was like 25%. Now it sounds closer to like 50, kind of 60%. So it's probably worth going straight over there, which it looks like we do. They screw up the skill check, which is awesome. Now, that could have easily been avoided. Although it can be hard to see through the corn sometimes, what you could have done in that situation, especially since, using Compound, we can now see one survivor and two survivors over here, right? So what we could have done is use that 1.25 seconds of slam duration, and considering we have 4 rushes remaining, to do a couple more slams into the gen, just to make 100% sure that we can guarantee that line of sight on the survivor, and then go in for the hit. I think kind of like panicking here, going for like a bit of a 90-degree flick around the side, especially since she really wants that gen done right now, man. She is trying her best to pressure that gen. It's just not quite working. Although we do get that hit there, and then we're going to be curving around, and consider this is the survivor that got hooked first of all. So this survivor's already on second stage, which isn't too bad. Probably a good idea to try and focus her right now. Going for a good hit. I think she's a little bit greedy up there. And also, it was a good thing that you didn't try to do any kind of fancy flicks on that side. Because even on the right side of that one, also going for a pop there. Again, remembering the perks you've got, fantastic. I was going to pull it up in case you remember that one or in case you forgot. But yeah, going for the pop first and then going for the survivor so you can get your second pop active. Really, really good. But around this object here, now, typically, if you think of the structure of it, it kind of has that, like, line there, and then it has, like, these little bits, and then the main vaults are going to be one, like, right here. There's another one kind of, like, right there, right? And so, realistically, the problem is, although there's kind of, like, that curve around the side, and you can kind of go up there and do, like, an S-flick to get up there, you can also go at, like, a slightly harsher angle and do, like, a 90 or something. They're relatively hard to pull off, especially, on console, I'd imagine, is a little bit more tricky, especially when you want to get like a really sharp S-flick in there. So what I'd maybe recommend is kind of doing what you did there, which is running up there with W and just trying to M1. I think that was the perfect play. So from what I saw there, again, it's tough to say because I'm watching this in 720p. This isn't like the resolution we've been playing the game at. Not to mention that on top of that, we're also playing 𝗂𝗏, which is like super bright. Also, she's been unhooked already, man. The survivors are on top of things. But what I was going to say there is that I couldn't see any barbecue information. Although, let me point out a little pro tip here, and I'm going to see in a second because maybe she's noticed it. But did you guys see how we can confirm that there's a survivor here, right? We kind of get around this corner. We're running towards this gem. We have an idea there might be a survivor there. Maybe there wasn't barbecue. I couldn't see one. We get around here, and we slam into this part here. Right there, we're awarded points for the Compound 21 reveal. Just as I said at the beginning of the video, that reveal, even though we cannot see the survivor, we know there's one there. So always look up into the top right, hand side of the screen when you use Compound 21. Because if you do reveal someone and you don't see them, as soon as you see that point reward come up, and it actually used to be more broken. Like when blight first came out, it was ridiculous. It actually used to give you points for people that were in lockers, right? So you slam into an object, you don't see anyone, but you get the points. It means they're guaranteed to be in a locker. Now, thankfully they did fix that because it was busted. At the same time, we are awarded those points, so we know that someone is not in a locker and they are around here somewhere. So I'm kind of curious to see if we kind of pick up on that. And also there's a couple scratch marks here. We can see the scratch marks. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we knew there's someone there. Probably more so from the scratch marks than we do from Compound 21. Looks like she's a bit of a greedy Nancy. Now, in this situation, I mean, I can't really fault the mind game. We do get the pallet down quickly. There's a couple things you could have done. Again, a couple more advanced techniques. We could have gone for a hug tech. Now, the hug tech in this area is a little bit unique, but it's super fun to pull off. So, because of the way the pallet works, basically the shape of the tile. So you have this part down here that we're not really worrying about, but this part here is kind of like a C shape, right? So you have the pallet kind of standing here, and then what you can do is you can actually stand here, and then the survivor, typically an optimal survivor is going to want to stand kind of round about here, maybe towards either corner, so they can kind of get line of sight and see which direction you come around. Now, the great thing about the hug tech is that it kind of hides your red stain whilst you're doing it, so it's kind of like a mind game combined with like a blight tech, it's pretty insane. So what you could have done is whilst that Nancy is kind of standing there, and it looks like she was kind of holding W around it anyway, you could have used your Compound 21 to slam into it once to get an idea on where she was. Is she continuing? Is she trying to like stay there just to see, which direction you're going to go to try and react to it? But what you can do is as soon as you get that information, even if you don't have it with Compound 21, you slam into this, and then you move forwards, as we typically do with a hug tech, and you slip just around the pallet all the way along. In fact, if you want to combine it with a scoot slide by kind of like pre-turning into it, so you're going to be looking like this direction, blight's velocity is still going to take you that direction. They're not going to see a red stain until it's too late, and then you can just like whack on a massive 90-degree flick like all the way around the corner, and you'd be surprised that works 9 out of 10 times. It's a really gnarly technique. If you've never tried it, I'd highly recommend it. The hug tech also technically works from the other side as well, but again, I mean, in this situation, it was kind of a case that she was going to drop the pallet anyway. It doesn't look like she's massively looking behind herself. She's trying to avoid some flicks. And again, it was, I think a lot of this does come down to, like in general, your blight flicks and techs are really not that bad. I think they're actually pretty clean. I think what should really be worked on in this kind of game so far, though, is patience. Because what she did there was she did the classic survivor thing of panic and hold W, right? We get here, and as soon as we get there, she's just going to run all the way off the screen, right? She's all the way off to the other side of the map. She's practically in Hawkins by now. So what we do in this situation is we just wait, right? 1.25 seconds. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it's a long time. And again, I'm going to point it out, man. 4 rushes remaining, right? 4 rushes of 1.25 second is huge, right? So what we have to do as a blight player is just slam into it. And if we don't see a move, slam into it. And you just keep on slamming and slamming until you can absolutely guarantee that hit, because survivors aren't expecting you to be there for that long, right? As kind of demonstrated with this Nancy, she kind of like stands there for a little bit and then runs. And so all you needed to do was that little bit more patience, wait to guarantee that she was just going to commit in that direction, then you go in for the hit. I think what ended up happening here was we panicked a bit, kind of expected to hit her around the corner, but obviously she'd already started holding W, so that was going to be a lost chase. However, at this point of the game, I mean, 3 hooks in, 3 gens remaining. We're not in a bad place, but we can definitely do better. Now, again, I think here, I don't know whether I would have gone for a rush there. I think what I could have done, let me just make sure. So we get the rushes back right there. What we could have done is potentially try to have zoned her. So what I mean by that is that we start a rush and we actually continue all the way around the corner and try and hit this object here, right? So we might just about, considering we have speed, we might just about have enough kind of distance on her to get there before she does and force her away from the pallet. I can't guarantee it, but that's probably what I would have done if I wanted to go for a rush. As soon as you get to this point, though, she is easily beating you, kind of beating you to the pallet. And what I'm looking around and seeing bump logic-wise is that we have this tree, which is sometimes reliable. It's not the best tree for collision, but it's pretty good. We have nothing over here at all. Maybe a tree a little bit past here, although, again, it's kind of skeptical. And this entire area of the map is dead, right? We don't want to be over there. So as far as actually looping this object, it's not an easy one, especially with this RNG. This is not looking ideal. So personally, I wouldn't, you know, like bar from the zoning that I talked about at the beginning, I wouldn't have tried to have rushed this one. You know, because as soon as we get kind of to this position, how do we then get her? You know, we can try and go for this object, but again, it's so far away that by the time we get her there, she's already back around by the pallet. You know, she is safe. Other than that, maybe we're going to see us go back towards the pallet and then try and go to the left side. Might not be a terrible idea, but you know, yeah, you kind of see that issue being prevalent there, you know, as well as potentially some slippery collision. So it's a tough one right here. I must admit though, going for the flicks, I've got to rep it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going for flicks and you're having good chases, that that is a win to me. So I've got to say I massively respect the fact of like the pure quantity of flicks that you're going for in this game. It's pretty impressive. So here again, I wouldn't have gone for this one. If you are going to go for a flick like this though, this object is a little bit too far away. This tree that we kind of talked about earlier is not quite in the right position. However, this wall here might be doable. Maybe you can like do a curve around the corner and then hit this wall and then kind of curve back in. But again, you've got to remember that a survivor is taking a much shorter route than you are, you know? So in that situation, I'm not entirely sure if you would have had the speed, even with the green speed add-on, to get back to her. It was worth an attempt. I think another thing, again, kind of coming back to the hug tech, you could have easily have hug tech this object here, kind of look down a little bit and then scooted around the side. And based on the way that she's running, that would have actually connected, right? Because she ends up being just to the left of us. So if I mean, even what we did here was very, very close, but we end up getting stuck on that little object there. Not a bad attempt, though. Right here, I guess we got to throw the pallet, you know. And in that situation, we've lost a lot of pressure, you know. Oh, that was gnarly. Okay, we'll go over that in a second. But, you know, again, because it's really, really important to kind of like keep in mind how much pressure you're losing per chase and where you should be putting your kind of like general map pressure, you know. Should we be in this side of the map chasing someone in the first place? Do they have a gen that's completed over here? We know there's a gen that's not being worked on because Nancy's already been kicked off of it. But the other three survivors, we have no idea where they are, and they could all be on, three separate gens if they're communicating, you know? So again, in this situation, I think just getting rid of that pallet would have been a much better thing to do early. Now, that is really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, and it's something that I mentioned in my blight guide. In fact, I think it was the first flick that I mentioned, or the first hit that I mentioned, which is the instant flick, right? And effectively how you do that, it's very simple. You have a mouse, or I guess it's the same thing on console. You know, you have your left and right triggers. So with a mouse, you're kind of going to have, oh, it's going to be the worst image of a mouse ever. I apologize. I'm not great at drawing with whatever tools these are. Don't blame me. Okay, but in fact, we can do better than that. Hold on. We can do much better than that. The line, I realized the line through the middle is actually a terrible thing to draw first, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's a mouse, right? We can even have like a cable. It's not even like a wireless mouse. Cool. So in this situation, basically all you do to break a pallet like that and don't get into this situation where we end up losing 5 rushes effectively trying to break one pallet, which not only wastes a lot of time in trying to get those rushes back, but also wastes a lot of time in just continuing chase, is you press the right mouse button to rush and then the left mouse button to hit it practically at the same time. It's like a 1-2, you know? They're pretty much pressed instantly, but you go right click, left click, you know, extremely quickly, just right, left. And in that situation, you know, like as long as you do it quick enough, you will always break that pallet first, but you do have to be careful. So we got blinded as well. Trying to see where the scratch marks go. We do, yeah, we're still on the chase with the Nancy. Not bad. Now, in this situation, I'd kind of be sat there myself. Again, it's a similar problem there. You know, I think that may have been a bit more of a panic thing. I'm not sure if we actually went for a swing early on. But, you know, again, kind of like I mentioned before, the instant rush is something that's really important to learn, not only for breaking pallets that are in front of you, but also for hitting survivors, because a lot of survivors, what they do is they panic, you know? If I'm looping someone and I'm blight stood here and a survivor has nowhere else to go, they're probably just going to run up to me, right? Most survivors do because that's their only remaining option. And although it's a very, very easy hit, or it's a very simple hit, it can be a little bit complicated, or okay, complicated is the wrong word. It can be a little bit difficult to actually hit a survivor when they're running around you, because survivors feel like they're a million miles an hour when they're doing that, right? So if there is a survivor right in front of you, right click, left click as quickly as possible. You know what I mean? Now, as I was saying before, I think the problem here, although we can hear, I don't know if you guys heard that, but we heard a survivor working on this gen as well. So we know at least one survivor's over here. There's half of the team currently tracked, which is good. Also, I was going to say we're about to get I'm a Lawyer's value, but that would have just run out, which kind of sucks. But right here, I think running into this building, we should have like sat there for a second and been like, do we need to continue this chase, right? Are we gaining anything? Because as far as I'm concerned, we've lost a gen already. We might, you know, lose another one in the next 30 seconds. We might lose another 2 in the next 30 seconds. That could be GG, you know? So I would maybe, I don't know if I'd continue chasing this person. I'd probably go to the other side of the map, maybe try and put some pressure on someone else by, you know, going over towards Shaq in the corner and then injuring someone here if I can get them slugged. I know there's 2 people in the main building over here, so one of them's maybe got to go over here. If those people don't go for them, then the other person that might be over here or might be over here has got to go for the pickup, assuming they don't have Unbreakable. So there are ways of kind of, you know, applying map pressure if you are starting to lose it. But, you know, ending chases quickly is incredibly important. Yep, we correctly identified that there was someone working on this gen. There is a very specifically different sound that a survivor makes or a generator makes when it's being worked on versus when it's being kind of just like sat there passively, you know? Oh, I think that was unfortunate. I don't think that she dropped off. I think what she did, looking at the scratch marks, I was going to say, I think she just took a 90-degree turn there. I don't think she actually dropped off. That was a pretty unfortunate ending to the chase there, and I'm not sure if we're going to go back up to try and find her. Oh, this could be rough. But at the same time, this specific Meg is probably not a terrible choice to chase right now. It looks like we are going to take the Nancy instead, though. In that situation, if we manage to get another chase with this Meg and get her out of the game, that would have been fantastic right now. But I think going for this Nancy, I mean, she's obviously trying to get the chase. She wants to try and get her attention and try and keep it off the rest of the team so they can probably do gens. So I mean, in this situation, it kind of feels like bait, and it kind of feels like we took it, you know? But again, if we can end this chase quickly, although we are approaching alongside Jungle Gym, we do have a little bit of, okay. I'm all ears value, I was going to say. Not a bad flick attempt. I mean, it's like a 150-degree flick around the corner. Not bad at all. Rethrow the pallet. Going to try and do a bit of a backwards mind game. Double backwards mind game. Is it going to work, though? Not a bad attempt, although that would have worked. I think she was only just about in front of you. At half a distance, and yes! Podcast! Okay, hold on. I think a lot just happened there with, well, 2 gens. Jesus. Okay, so that was some really clean, dead hard podcast, I must admit. But in this situation, I think going for that mind game, it worked out. It's risky, and to be honest, I mean, I kind of explained to, yeah, I kind of explained how to run those tiles in the Blight guide, but going over tiles like that in the game are not easy, you know, especially based on maps like this that can be very slippery. I mean, this map has the most slippery LT tiles and long wall tiles in the game, so you got to be careful there. But on top of that, like, most of the objects around them are either, again, slippery or they're just barren and there's no objects to begin with, you know? So that mind game was risky. It did end up working, and we are very, very lucky to hit that person. Really, really clutch for that dead hard. Sadly, there's 2 more gens done. And we're kind of in a situation here where we're kind of sat there like, how do we bring this game back, right? I think right now, 2 stacks of barbecue, about to come 3. We need to try and find that injured Meg and get her out of the game, right? Only 1 person I saw with barbecue there, which means the other door might be a little bit too close if there is someone inside the house or around us like that we can't quite see. Looks like she might free throw. No, it looks like you get a hit there. Perfect. Bit of patience. You know, again, survivors kind of panic. They're not entirely sure what to do. You can easily land a hit there. Now, right now, we can assume pretty safely that it was probably the healed Meg that went for the unhook on the Nancy, right? I would very, very much doubt that it's the injured Meg that is on death hook, as far as I remember, that would have gone for the save. Right now, the best way that you could bring back this game, especially considering the fact that you have, barbecue as well as green speed, is you need to try and get a slug going, right? I think the best thing I would do in this situation, because it's gone pretty badly, you need to try and bring something back. I'd get this Meg down, and then, oh no, sorry, the Lori in this situation, and then try and use that barbecue to then snowball and get the other characters, right? Unfortunate, but you do, yep, clutch it back, awesome. So let's just have a look at what happened in that situation exactly. So what did we try to bounce off of? We tried to bounce off of the side, and to be fair, depending, you know, the newer collision, I'm not entirely sure when this game was recorded exactly. I don't know whether it's a slightly newer or slightly older one. But as of the Pinhead update, they did change the collision slightly. As far as I'm aware, it's a bug. But with the new collision, Blight is, in simple terms, a lot more sensitive to direct collision, right? When he's turning into an object. So with new collision, you would have actually bounced on this corner right here. Old collision, you would have slipped on it. New collision, you would have bounced on that, which would have been kind of practical. And I'm assuming that's what we went for there. Luckily, we do just about clip the edge of that, the very edge of that tile, which is kind of cool. And then using our patience, we look around a little bit, probably about 0.8 seconds used there, and then she's down, which is excellent. So let's see what happens here. What I'm really hoping for is that we get that one stack of barbecue, we then look around, we see if we can find the survivors that, as far as I can see, still haven't healed up. So maybe we can still bring this back. But it looks like the meg's healed up. Oh, they're all together. That's going to be really, really hard. So I guess I can kind of give you like a little tip when it comes to like running around the corner here, is that you've got to look really, really high, right? You've got to look to, towards the generators mostly, and also the hooks. Anything other than that is generally either non-existent or extremely unreliable. And this is especially important in maps like Rotten Fields, right? Rotten Fields is a map that is completely desolate and extremely hard for Blight to play, although considering it's not necessary to then, on top of that, use speed add-ons and things like that. But if you are using speed, it's going to give you that little bit of extra distance to get through, kind of get through the corner and then navigate to these objects. Because keep in mind that Blight's total rush time is, I believe I'm not mistaken, everyone's going to laugh at me if I'm totally wrong on this one, but it's 3 seconds, right? And so 3 seconds, base speed is going to get you here. However, if you've got more speed, that's going to get you here, right? It's still 3 seconds, but because you're traveling faster during those 3 seconds, you are gaining distance. Then use double speed, getting that far. You know what I mean? So I guess a lot of people have asked me whether you do make kind of like more distance when using speed, and the answer is yes, because although you're going the same, you're kind of traveling for the same amount of time, you are going quicker during that time, if that makes sense. So what I would have done here is maybe try to go for the generator, see if there were any hooks around, just try and look above the corner as best you can. Although it's looking pretty gnarly right now. We need to try and get that Nancy down before she heals. Just about healed. Going for a flick there. I guess at that point it can be kind of difficult. I totally understand where there's like more than one survivor around. You're not really sure who to go for. Basing that pallet's not a bad idea. Now in this situation, that was not a bad hit, honestly. A little bit of patience there, using Combat 21 to read about where she was. That was not bad. However, in this situation, I think what would have been more important, especially if you want to kind of keep this game going, if you want to try and pressure the team, is that right now she's next to a door. In fact, did we see, is the door 99? I'm pretty sure, yeah, the door's 99, right? So in this situation, even if she gets hit once, she has a door that's 99. She probably has sprint burst as well, or dead hard or something. She'll make it out the door. She is out, right? She is clean. However, this person on the hook right here, the Lori, she is still in a pretty vulnerable position because she's pretty far away. Now, it's not super easy to get there, but we know that there's a hook here. And again, from before, remember, there is a generator just to our left, right? So we can navigate there, especially, again, considering green speed. What I would have done here is just gone straight back to that hook. As soon as we realized there's one survivor here and the other two just completely disappeared, someone or both of them have gone towards that hook, and those are the ones we need to try and pressure right now. Not a bad hit again. Not bad. Again, like I said, she's so safe. I guess she doesn't quite make it. She makes a pretty... Oh, yes! Park us through the window. Dude, that was insane. Awesome job. Okay. We might still be able to make something work here. We go for the Lori. I mean, Lori by default, she's going to have DS. It's just the way it works. Another hit. That's some really, really good slug pressure. Now, my concern here is that what if they open that door and they just end up crawling out, right? Also, you have a DC. Fantastic. Now, yeah, I mean, rip. She just turned into a med kit. What's going on? Meg, do you have any idea what's going on right here? Are you kidding me? Dude, it's like the ultimate magic trick. Why do they keep buffering survivors? I always say this on stream. I'm sat there and I'm like, why do they keep buffering survivors? First survivors were able to press E for distance, and now they're able to, press escape to turn into an item. Like, that's busted. Must note, however, quickly that I'm pretty sure the Lauri has either got Unbreakable or the other character. I believe the Nancy has just picked her up, which is kind of unfortunate. I want to say it's the Nancy. Now, is the Lauri going to get out here? Because again, I'm pretty sure I mean, you know, on the basis that she is Lauri, she might end up making out here, but I can't quite see where she is. She's healed up as well. This is looking pretty unfortunate. I think we could have turned that into a 3K, but at the same time, I mean, I'm pretty sure both the killer and the survivors were pretty taken back on that, you know, turning into a survivor. Yeah, that's going to be a DS, right? 100% she has DS. It's going to be a 2K? Is she going to let her get the kill? What an awesome survivor. What a great person, dude. Oh, dude. See, now that is the sign of a true killer. You know, the killers that do not kill people in the end game, fair play. Now, to kind of like go back over it, I mean, I understand that like that DC definitely kind of like skewed the game at the end, but that Meg being on the floor and then the Lauri being kind of downed over there, the medkit, you know, that Lauri being down as well. There's two people slugged, and in theory, we could have actually snowballed some pressure there. I think, you know, knowing that she had Unbreakable or whatever she had, whether she got picked up or not, if we went over to kind of like camp the Lauri for a little bit and then took her to a really far away hook, we could have then pressured on that side of the map. You know what I mean? So there potentially would have been a way to bring that game back. But again, I think the biggest issue with that game, although there were some really, really strong points, you know, I think your flicks were pretty on point, to be honest. I think, the amount that you were going for flicks was definitely admirable. It was a little bit risky, and I think that was part of the reason the chases lasted so long. But to be honest, it wasn't a bad game. You know, I think the biggest number one thing that I would have said, you know, as far as improving goes, is patience being the number one thing that I would tell to any Blight player, especially in situations with that Nancy. We could have ended chases much, much quicker if we just waited for a second longer, you know? As an extension, just in general, map pressure, kind of being able to kind of sit there and evaluate the situation. Should I be here? Should this chase be taking so long? Do I need to try and get some slug pressure? Which gens are being worked on? Because for the majority of that game, I'm fairly sure most survivors were kind of sat on gens, holding M1, ordering a pizza, completely unpressured, right? I don't think that they were really having that bad of a time. And then there was one survivor that was just kind of juicing the entire time, you know? So yeah, I think in total, it wasn't a bad game at all. And this is, you know, again, a totally new concept for me. If you enjoyed the video, definitely let me know. I mean, this is probably, what, like half an hour long at this point, so I apologize if I, like, dragged on about anything. But do let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want me to do more of these, definitely do, you know, hit me up. And if you have any videos as well that you'd like for me to review, if there's any games that you're not sure what went wrong or how you can improve on kind of like hug tech positioning or flicks or anything slightly more complicated, do send me some clips. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. If you've gotten this far, I really hope you've learned something. I hope I didn't waffle on too much. We stream on Twitch 4 days a week, so definitely come and hang out if you want to, you know, see this kind of crazy gameplay in action. I can also help you out if you're just brand new to play or if you want to learn a bit more. We have a Discord server. I mean, obviously, you're watching on YouTube, so you should definitely subscribe whilst you're here. And yeah, take care, guys. Stay hydrated. Much love, and I'll see you guys, hopefully, in the next Blight gameplay review.